exact same thing.
Exactamundo.
Wow, this got really, really strange. We are now doing a temperature show. This is how you tell your temperature. If you step outside and your nose grows an icicle, go back inside. It is too cold.
Yeah, absolutely. Way too cold.
So, anyways, we are going to take a very quick music break while I slap my co-host, and we will return. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Captain Fizz and Mask Guy show. We have shot ourselves in the foot. Literally, I was kind of walking around the studio, doing some exercises, dancing to the music, and I kicked my foot with a tire. And, you know, so anyways, I have to ask you, we've been talking a lot about December 18th, a very important day for us, is when Star Wars comes back.
Star Wars!
Star
Wars.
We have all grown with Star Wars. Many, many, many different versions. There's the Family Guy version, there's the Robot Chicken version, which were both hilarious, I might add. And then there's, of course, the Star Wars version.
Yes, the Star Wars version. Can't forget that one. It's almost as good as the Family Guy version.
Yes.
No, it's not. It's much better.
So anyways, do you expect that December 18th will be the restart of the franchise, or do you believe it's going to fall flat?
Honestly, I don't see how this can fall flat.
There's always a possibility of falling flat. Doesn't matter the fan base, doesn't matter the following. There's always that chance that a movie is not going to do as good as anyone hopes.
Well, absolutely, but I don't think that it's that movie. Honestly, I mean, just 30 seconds of a trailer, from either of the trailers that they've shown so far for episode 7 is better than what we saw completely in that terrible movie, Fantastic Four.
See, but
30 freaking seconds!
How many commercials or trailers have we seen for a movie that look absolutely phenomenal, unbelievable, can't wait to watch, and then the moment we see it, it falls. It's like they took every good part in the movie just for the trailer.
Well, I completely agree. I do think, though, that it's not. We haven't even seen the best parts. They went up and just gave us little tastes of it. I mean, we haven't really seen Luke Skywalker. We saw what might be, who might be Luke handing the lightsaber to somebody. But we don't know if that was really, Luke Skywalker. We haven't seen Princess Leia yet. There's rumors that we might see, a cloned version of Anakin Skywalker, Darth Vader, in this movie.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of rumors, and which is pretty much all we have at this point is rumors.
But I mean, I think the one great thing about J.J. Abrams and how hard he's been trying to keep everything in the dark is the fact that we're speculating about this, and I mean that's a two-edged sword though, because either we're gonna go in there and think, oh my god, I can't believe he managed to go off and keep this from us, or it might be it doesn't live up to the hype. And I think that's kind of the feeling where, this is Star Wars. I have went off and I stated this several episodes ago, that even, the prequel trilogy even though they weren't that great, still were awesome because they were Star Wars.
Well, yeah, and I do agree, but the problem with that theory now is it has been so long. They are now selling Star Wars to a brand new generation. So, it's not the fact that they're just selling it to people like you and I anymore, who have grown up with Star Wars, who have seen all this stuff, have lived through it all. These are kids who have probably never seen Star Wars before, have never been to a premiere before, have never experienced what that's like. This is their first time. So it's either going to hit the ball, the ground running, or it's going to smack against a wall. And it's finding that balance. Do they make it appealing to the kids just because of that fear? Or do they go what's comfortable and what's familiar and kind of follow the same familiarity of the original 6?
The way I look at this is, number one, this will be the first movie that George Lucas is going to be nothing but an executive producer on. And everything else, George Lucas's, fingerprints were all over it. The only, real fingerprints George Lucas is going to have will be the characters that were from the original, 6 movies. And everything else is going to be J.J. Abrams' vision and the people who helped him write it. I happen to have a lot of faith in J.J. Abrams. I know you don't care about Star Trek at all, but the simple fact that he made a Star Trek fan out of a guy who hasn't liked Star Trek since he was like 10 years old is an amazing thing.
I will stop you there. I do recall in a previous episode we talked about Star Wars, Star Trek, and J.J. Abrams kind of jumping ship between the two, or selling a soul, whichever way you want to look at it. I do believe he did a very good job on the Star Trek movie. The problem I have isn't so much J.J. Abrams. I think he is a phenomenal director. There is really it's gold everything he touches. The problem being is Disney's writers. These are guys who are so used to writing Mickey Mouse, these feel-good kind of animated movies and TV shows and things like this. They're not used to this whole dark side.
But again, I don't think this is necessarily really quote-unquote Disney writers that are going to be often doing this. I mean, they didn't bring in Disney writers to go off and to write all the Marvel movies we've seen. I mean, I definitely wouldn't go off and call Joss Whedon a Disney writer and look at it.
I would.
Excuse me, Buffy the Vampire Slayer? I'm sorry. The characters from that universe would completely annihilate pretty much everything in Disney's universe.
I just bring this up just to mess with you, right?
I know. And, you managed to go off and get me, pretty, mad. You get my gander up, you you.
I'm a huge Buffy, fan.
As am I.
Sarah Michelle Gellar was honestly, that was the only time that she was actually, worth watching.
It's kind of sad that she hasn't really found anything to make her own really since then. I mean, other than she's done a couple of good things, or at least semi-good things. I mean, she was in The Grudge, which is considered, to be a pretty good horror movie. If you're into it, the
I know what you did
movies,
last summer.
Yeah, I know. She was also in Scream 2, but...
Yeah, that doesn't count. That doesn't count.
It's kind of going off and pointing out how Drew Barrymore was in, the original Scream movie.
Yeah, and she went from being, looking a certain way to completely 360. The last couple years, I haven't even really recognized, her at all. But that's a whole different
That's
story.
a whole different thing. I mean, she's got married to Freddie Prinze Jr. She's a mom now.
Who I believe she was actually acting with in How I Know What You Did Last Summer.
And in the both Scooby-Doo movies.
Yes. Wow, we really got off topic on this one.
Well, no kidding. I mean, it was unfortunate because, I mean, she did go off and star in The Crazy People with the late Robin Williams. Unfortunately, that show didn't live up to the hype that it could have.
I don't even remember that show.
It was on for like a year, and then tragically, a couple months later, after it was canceled, Robin Williams took his life.
Yes.
So we'll never speak of that show ever again, unfortunately, because it brings up many bad memories.
Yeah, but anyways, I am concerned with the whole Star Wars. Obviously, we have invested so much time in the Star Wars franchise. You and I, especially, I think we have more Star Wars shirts than anything. I have my, Star Wars poster, coffee cups, stuffed animals, everything. We live and breathe Star Wars, and I would hate to see that that whole monopoly end just because a bunch of young naive kids don't understand Star Wars or believe it's not dark enough for them.
My big thing is that we know at this point they're going to have to take the mantle for Star Wars and really take it off of the characters from the original movies and have them step aside and allow the new characters to kind of step forward. And I'm kind of concerned at this point, just from what little I've actually seen of it, that these characters aren't going to live up to what they're going to have to do. I know that, personally, I got a lot more psyched when I saw, Han and Chewie on the screen for like 5 seconds than I did for almost anything else I went off and saw.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it is because we don't know their storyline. We don't know anything about these characters, where they came from, where they're going, who they are, really.
But then again, 30 years ago, when, they bring it out, the original trilogy, we didn't know any of that stuff either. So, it's, I think it says something about our society where we're freaking out because we don't know enough about something. We can't just sit there and just say, okay, let's wait for this. Ladies for it. It's like, no, we need to know more about these people freaking now.
See, usually in movies, I don't mind waiting. I don't mind, waiting until it comes out to understand what's going on in the storyline. But so much time and energy invested in Star Wars makes me want to know now. Makes me want to understand the direction they're going, where they're taking things, how they're taking things, who these strange people are, and why they're on my screen.
Oh, exactly. I think the next 2 months are going to be a little bit nuts. I have to also say...
A little bit?
A little bit nuts. I am so thankful that I'm going to have a lot to distract me over the next couple of weeks. I'll bring it up for the upteenth time. At the end of the month here in Winnipeg, Manitoba, the Central Canadian Comic-Con, better known as C4, is going to be holding their yearly convention, and I'm actually loving this. Of course, Sylvester McCoy, who played, I believe, was the 8th Doctor, is one of the top stars that they're bringing in there. They're bringing in the actor who actually physically played General Akbar for this, so they're bringing in some Star Wars alumni.
Which they said General Akbar may actually be in the new Star Wars.
I think he's almost been kind of... I think the actor who plays him has actually said that he will be in it.
Yeah, which is good. It's one of the ones that we actually know what's going to happen.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. But you know what, man? Honestly, if you want to go off and see General Akbar, go off and watch the Star Wars Lego, Droid Tales. Because Akbar is in it.
I love General Akbar. I don't know. It's something about General Akbar that really stood out to me. And I don't understand why. I've never did. It's just my 3 favorite characters. Okay, my 5 favorite characters.
5
were Yoda, Chewbacca, R2-D2. Okay. That stupid worm thing on that planet. The one that came out of the ground and tried to eat Han Solo's ship, the Millennium Falcon.
Space Slug, I think it was
Space
called.
Slug, yes, and General Akbar.
General Akbar. It's a trap!
The most famous line, and one of my favorites. It's, I don't know. I have to say something. We were talking about Star